Hello.
How you doing?
Good, darling. How are you? I
Good.
like my glasses.
Where's your video? Turn your video on.
Oh, there it is. Fuck. I was
Hey.
thinking I couldn't even see myself. What have I done? Oh, yeah, I've got to click it. Fuck yeah.
Hey, I'm just gonna do this in a split screen. Yeah. How are you going?
Oh, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Had a
No,
good start to the week, actually. I had some record added to Triple J this morning, so that's not such
not such a bad.
bad thing in this time.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Well, I mean, how you coping with the lockdown?
Look, I'm over it, but I've just got to stick it out, though. There's not much we can do. Fuck. I mean, if I could get out of the country, I would, but I can't.
Yeah, I know. We cancelled our flights to Bali and everything. Myself and the missus, like we lost out on everything.
Oh, did you? I got all my money back for Thailand. So we were meant to go in May, just this, the first month or two. So we waited till Qantas had to cancel the flights. As soon as they cancelled the flights, they had to pay me.
No way.
So
Oh,
they cancelled the outbound flights, but didn't cancel the inbound coming back from Koh Samui. So I waited, and I held out, right,
yeah.
until then they sent us a message and they go, "Oh, we can now give you a refund. Your flight's been cancelled."
No.
Yeah, we know.
I got it
So
too.
then we messaged the hotel because we stay there. We've been staying there for the last 16 years. We did the booking with Agoda, so we thought we'd never get the money back, right? The hotel wrote to Agoda. Next minute, Agoda sent us the money. It was like, what? We got every cent back. We didn't lose $1.
It's insane. A lot of
And
the
I know other people have just been like, can't even get the flight, let alone the accommodation back.
Yeah, well, like the missus' parents, like they missed out big time on going to Bali, like in a huge villa with 4 people and all that, you know. So they're still trying to push it forward and push it forward. I got half my money back from Virgin, which was all right. I mean, it wasn't myself; it was one of those cheap flights, you know, so it wasn't too bad. But you know,
Pretty bad, yeah.
and so look, I'm so happy that you agreed to do this because
That's all right, though. I'm happy to help out with you. And I think it's a good initiative that you're doing.
yeah, you know, it's like so. What I want to do, what I'm doing with my one-on-one, it's basically I want to like expand it right into one-on-one super sessions, and these super sessions are going to involve really key people in the dance music industry,
Yep.
like yourself. Like
Yep.
you have such an important role, you know, even going back to the vinyl days in King's. You know what I mean?
My
Like,
hands are still broken from vinyl, doll. Someone messaged me the other day and they go, "Why don't you mail vinyl out anymore?" And I'm like, "You fucking kidding me?
yeah,
You've got no idea how long it used to take me to do one service, right, on my own. And
yeah.
those packages always slice your fingers. I'd finish work and I had blood everywhere. Like,
Miss those days. You know, going into this in Sydney, going in to see Ilya and you know John DeVecchius, and going in.
yeah,
They hand you a big white bag of promos that they put away. You know what I mean?
that was me going out with my bag of promos.
And now I mean, it's great. Like, and then CDs were around for about a year, and then MP3s came along. So,
No.
with the reason that I wanted to start it with you is because of the journey that you've taken. You've gone with the times, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you've gone from the vinyl to the CD promos, and constantly in the
Cassette singles. Don't forget the cassette singles.
singles. You got cassettes as well.
Yeah, when I was running Colossal Records, we used to sell a lot of because we had
Oh my God,
all
yeah.
those big records at the time, like Strokin' and the Two Live Crew and all that stuff. Right? It was
Yeah.
all cassette singles I was shoveling out to Brashes by the thousands, stuff.
Wow. I think that was just prior to when I got here in 2002. So
Yeah, this was in the
late 90s.
early 90s.
Wow.
Early 90s. Yeah.
And you know, it's just like because you are the first and last line of defense before a record gets out, right? Because remember
Yeah.
back in the day, it was the DJs who were the, you know, the tastemakers, you know, and the
Yeah.
promos come from you, and the DJs were what we got from promo, what we loved, we played on the dance floor. The kids
Yeah.
loved it, and
Yeah.
then I went to radio, you know.
Yeah.
So I'd like you to just kind of like give a little like you know of your journey from the cassette to modern day because you're the last line of giving. You know, it comes from the
Yeah.
I don't know how you deal with it.
Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was really devastated when the vinyl disappeared. I mean, I worked in retail. That's where I came from, right? So
Yeah.
I'd sell lots of male strippers, man to man, and all that kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
But I had them at the side of the counter, and I just play it nonstop at night time, and all the kids would come running in, and I'd just sell them out of the box,
Oh, really?
like that. Yeah, like it was that intense back then when it all started to kick off.
Yeah.
It was like I'd go to JB Hi-Fi on a Friday with the Max mixers.
Yeah.
Remember them? And the Colossal Mega Mixes and that, the box on my shoulder, and the box would be teared apart before I got to the counter. And they're like, how much do we owe you? Have you got any more in the car? And I'm like, no, I've got to go back to the office and get more stock.
I'll tell you,
Like it was out of control.
I was in HMV in Ireland on Grafton,
Yeah.
and I saw this Ministry of Sound by Bass Clef and Mark Dial.
Right.
I was just like, oh wow, what's that, you know? And so I'd been a fan of Bass Clef from the mid 90s, you know.
Yeah.
Now he's one of my best mates, you know what I mean?
King back then too. The king.
What's that?
He was the king back then. So I love promoting his records, like the
Oh,
best.
we spent 6 hours in the studio on a track. I'm not going to name well, it's called Club Slot. I swear to God. And it came from an idea that I had in Ibiza. I was just like chilling, and I wanted to do everything in the key of D because I was having a dope time, or a really good time.
Yeah.
And I brought it to him, and we sat in my crappy little bedroom studio for 6 hours. And learned a smorgasbord of information from him, and
Yeah.
and getting to him to remix stuff and seeing all the promos coming out from you guys.
Yeah.
It was just a constant flow of all the DJs.
Well, see, back in the early days, right, when the vinyl was on the promo, they'd have to come and pick it up.
I know.
So they'd go, they do the rounds on the Friday and go to Sony, come to us, go to all the labels, pick it up, because the vinyl was expensive to mail out then, yeah? I mean, you were looking at over $10 a promo on top of promo fees and mail and everything. It really was the best thing for it to disappear on a promo level for myself, just because logistically I could get more things out digitally. But as we moved from vinyl to CDs, that was a test for DJs because they didn't like it. You probably didn't like it either.
We didn't like it. I like it.
I liked it. Like, it was such a hard sell. First, it was those little tiny little CD singles that you needed an adapter for even, right?
Yeah.
And then, trying to sell CDs to the DJs and giving promos on CDs, they were just looking at me like, what the hell is this to begin with? And then once we passed that stigma and they actually got used to using CD folders, all of a sudden came digital. But it wasn't as easy as you think to get the labels to switch over. We were the first people to digitally promote anything in the country. I had to go through so many legal hoops with the labels and major labels to give permission to me to send it out, because all they kept saying was that people will copy it. And I'm like, but they can copy the CD too, right?
Well, it was so much harder to copy vinyl than CD.
No, well, that's it, yeah. But when the CDs came, and then we were transferring to digital promo, and we'd heard about this digital promo, and my brother was up my back, we've got to change over, we've got to try this. And then we got around a few of our clients, and finally we got a few over the line for the digital, and that was it. It was off. I mean, I can't think that it's going to change again, because what can it change to, Johnny?
Virtual reality. I don't know.
Well, like, it's I don't know. I'm kind of think now, if I hit the end of my road, like I've gone through all the different formats, the journey's been good, but it's been interesting. Like I said, it was not easy to get people to transfer. Firstly, when vinyl disappeared, it was misery. And then when the CDs arrived, it was more misery, right? And then actually getting people to sign up, because you have to opt in to get into this site, like, I mean, now we have.
Period.
What's that?
How long was that transition period from, shit, and then to got it?
So when the CDs were going to disappear, we had to move really quickly, because obviously it was sink or swim for everybody. I mean,
how long did that take?
A while.
Right. So
it was quite a while to get people to turn over, because not only that, it wasn't about the format. It was also about the fact that they didn't know how to use the machinery, right?
Yeah.
The older DJs are really, really reluctant to change to the CD, because they had to use CDJs, and it was easier for the kids that hadn't seen a fucking turntable before. So
Yeah.
They were getting into it when they just had to press a button and beat match it. It wasn't the same.
Yeah. I remember when we flipped over in Moulin Rouge back in the day in
Oh
Kingston.
yeah.
And I walked in during the day just to check him out, and I looked at, because you know me and Dave played on Ford X and two mixes at the same time.
Yeah.
I was just like, where's my decks? You know what I mean? All these buttons
I
and
know. It was hard.
things in it, but I could never scratch like I could beat juggle on vinyl like
Yeah.
a CD. You'd have to start out in CD because my fingers are so
Yeah.
that width and the heaviness and just
Everything was different. Clunk, everything.
mm,
So look, I mean, I think people love getting the digital now because I can send it. And there's been times, and you probably noticed that sometimes, according to the time difference, whether it be a Calvin Harris record or another frontline artist, I have a certain time I can only send it out, and I have to match the times overseas. So we might be the last. I'm sitting here waiting at 7 o'clock to press that button as soon as it goes up live because of the time difference as well. So people will be in the club and they'll message me, the ones that do the early shifts. I'm downloading it now, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Play it now.
the States kind of thing.
What's that?
Europe and in the States or like in England, for a defected record at 7 o'clock you got to hit it because
Yeah, to be fair, anyone, the defected, generally we go first because it is what it is, the time difference, and they wake up and it's available anyway. But if with something like Calvin Harris or the Love Regenerator stuff, and quite often with other big name pop artists, I've had to wait until the time clicks over, and that's okay because it adds a little bit more excitement to the late night promo. They get it. They still got it in the club because they don't have to worry about me mailing it out and getting on Monday. They got it now. So that's a good advantage of the digital, as I see it anyway.
Yeah, I'll tell you, going back to the CDs, my experience with how quick you got Don't Hold Back out. And we did a couple of records before that, but literally when we finished it, it was straight out. Within a week, like of finishing it, it got to DJs.
Yeah.
2 weeks, it's number one. You got it like to everyone. I remember getting it. I'm going. Opened it. It was like promo. It was like my own promo. We're just losing our mind. Like, how's this all happened so fast?
Because sometimes it had to happen fast. But even now, I often wonder how many mistakes would be made with the way I get parts. Right? If they had to actually do the silver and do the manufacturing and have all these bills of a fucked up product, because most of the time that's what happens. So there's a lot of that goes on too with us because I might get the files in, they're corrupt. No one really checks them.
Oh, really?
Right. It happens quite a lot. The artwork could be the wrong sizes, or it's quite often the files are a little bit not quite right. And it's a little bit more than the promo. I have to check everything because I don't want something to go out looking like shit for like a project of yours or anybody I know, because it needs to be perfect. Otherwise you hold.
Well, see, this is exactly why I called on you first, because it had like these people, the young'uns, let's call them, not veterans like us. And this is why I'm doing the one-on-one, to teach them, not just doing tutorials, but how much goes into the record after they finish the record, and you only have one shot at a first impression. You know what I mean? And I really drive that into my mentorees, that they'll come across with 3 or 4 different sounds, and you have to strip it back, as yourself. You have to strip it back, get it right, and it goes all the way from me teaching a student over, say, 6 months how to find their sound, and then I'll get them record label ready. So it's a case of getting their PR right and their logo right and their style right and everything like that, and then fishing it out, but eventually getting into your hands,
and even then sometimes it gets into my hands and I think it needs a bit more work, and I'm not shy to say it, but there's every reason why I say it, because I'm looking for big numbers on charts and radio. I don't want anything to be half-assed, and if there's an opportunity to make it better, we should do it.
I'm going to send you a couple of tracks after this.
Oh no, I had a few last week. I get a lot of kids ringing me
Yeah.
and sending me stuff, and they would just want an opinion before they send it off, and it's quite often really unfinished, you know. And I think
Yeah.
you've got to go back in. I often recommend a few people for them to work with, or someone to do the remix or whatever, to make it enhance the project. But it happens quite a lot, and they really don't have any idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then occasionally I get a record and it's an absolute bomb, and I think, what the fuck, this kid's got this record, has no idea what to do with this shit, you know. And then I have to help them because, you know, it's got to be done.
So is that ringing from your end or my end? That's all
It's
good.
me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So say I'm a DJ Joe, whatever, and, you know, it does hit, and, you know, you don't know how old the character is. It's, what would your advice be to a young artist up and coming, say they had a mentor like myself or somebody else, that it did end up being absolutely shit hot? What would the stage like that you would advise that artist with that one record? What would you advise that artist to do next?
I mean, the best thing, if they've got the record and not signed to a label, they've got to suss a possibility with a label. Look, I do a lot of records where I'm promoting individually for artists overseas. Over the years, we've done promo for Martin Solveig and Chris Lake and lots of other artists. They don't even go through the label; they just come straight to us.
Yeah,
you know, that happens quite a lot. But at the same time, I think it's important to have a team around you. You know, like the new fashion thing though is to do like what Defected and the other labels overseas do with us, and they switch on teams in each territory and they hold on to their rights. And I mean, obviously, if you can get a deal with a label of that stature, you take it, because the opportunities are for touring and, you know, and just the bigger picture with the visual. You know, you can't escape it. And, you know, and in saying so, the local labels here, like, you know, that invest into local artists, Vicious, Neon, Tomorrow, Hot Sunday, because a lot of them, you know, Eugenius, they're all investing into local artists. And some of the labels are doing really well. I mean, Hot Sunday's licensed out a couple of records to a couple of big UK labels.
Brilliant.
You know, it's when you know that's happening, it's the interest outside of this territory is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, and part of that from the beginning, when these kids come to me with his record, trying to get it in, you know, just get in DJ's hands, let alone it charting or being played on radio. Then when the dots all start to come together and you see action overseas, and it's like, yes. You know, Don Dollar's another good example, because he started just sending us demos too. You know, like, you'd be surprised, a lot of these kids will started sending us things when they were quite young. And, you know, because it was probably their first contact. I was always out with them, or out, someone introduced me to them. Well, Gabby will help you. You're like, here we go. And in extension of that, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I think I like helping people. It's not really about the money with me, because if it was about the money, I would be driving a Porsche by now, and, you know, I'd be living at high, and I'm not.
Yeah, every time we've come across each other, it's just, you're a hugger. I love it. You're a hugger, you know?
I love hugging. You can't hug anymore though, Johnny.
Oh, and how are you feeling? You all right?
Yeah, no, look, I'm good. I'm just, you know, I want it to be over, and I want to go out and see my mates again. I miss going. I live on Chapel Street, right? So it's super misery for me. We're looking out my window going, oh no, because it's normally high vibe every day, every night, and it's not there anymore.
So look, I know, I hear you. I'm out in Bondi Beach. I'm so lucky to be in the place that I am, and
beautiful.
Like the beach is within 5 kilometers of.
Wow.
But you know, it's great, you know. But the weather's Melbourne, you know, it's 4 in the day.
Can't really go for that swim today.
Yeah, I know, right? So I wanted to get into with the label, right? Like, you guys are dance music specific, right?
Okay, so I've had run label before, Colossal Records, which is one of the biggest distributors in the 90s. Then I had my own label, Global Recordings, which we had a really big successful act, Sonic Animation. You remember?
Of course.
It was around the time when you guys, all right. So Sonic Animation, it was the first techno thing that you're remembering now. I know. So we had that. And that was the first techno thing that ever went gold. Like, we got a gold record from this. We ended up uplifting it to Mushroom at the time, because, you know, the offer was and it was also in between this changing over period of formats again, and I was starting to get nervous running a label, you know, and people were coming to us on the side and asking, the major labels are coming to us going, "Look, you're experts in this, can you do promo for our stuff?" And that's how this really started. I mean, we had the label,
Did-
and then this all started from people coming to me looking for advice, and then they say, "Why don't you charge us for this? This is a service you can charge us for. We've got budget." And I'm like,
That was
"Rightio." And then, and then after that, it's been nearly 19 years they've been doing it. So I mean, killing it too. I mean, we get some really good results with the overseas labels and the local labels. Like I said, when something gets sold overseas, or I see it go in the charts, and it's something I've worked on from scratch, nothing better.
Another thing was, if say a young guy comes up with his young label with his own first track, and he wants to do, or he or she wants to do it all themselves, what would
we do that?
Yeah, oh, I know, and I know who they are.
I'm happy to do that for people if that's what that's the road they want to travel down.
Absolutely. So what would your first three things for them to get done officially, like, doing their label licensing? What would your advice be to start?
Well, firstly,
on their own?
always encourage them, and if there's anyone we're working with that's on the same page as the record I've received, we always will send it on, always.
Yeah.
I expect when they first contact me to have links that I can stream, not have to download, because all day if I did that, it just a SoundCloud link or something, not having to download it. I mean, in Dropbox I can listen to it if I make it like that, but I can't handle the downloading, and the MP3 attached to the email is like 90s. Right? That's the first thing that puts me off when I'm really busy. So I just want to be able to, if I'm, talking to some kids, just hit me on the phone. I don't want to be taking 3 days to get back to somebody. So I'll listen to it straight away. If it's really easy, I'll suggest firstly that he or she should go and speak to some labels. Because obviously give themselves a bigger opportunity. Some of them are hell bent on not using a label. Okay, that's fine. Then I'll give them the prop that we do. We look after dance radio as well as the DJs. So it's not all just DJ focused. And then we'll give them the price and stuff. So,
So
and then moving on from there, I mean, it's really simple. I get the parts. They fill in. We have a Google form system that they fill in the parts, all the details and the assets. I mean, the more content that we have is always better, and always good for me to have it at the start of the project than towards the end of the project, because we want to make noise. We want to get people attracted to the record from the beginning. I like to see that their socials are up to date.
I know, right? Well, so
I don't like watching it when it's so dated.
You've had artists that they haven't been on.
They don't do enough. They're not visually active. You need to be present. So their artist page, and look, I co-manage Sunshine and the Disco Faith Choir as well. Done some management over time, and sometimes the next step is for them to look for a manager if we think they're going to be that big, and the next thing maybe a booker. There's lots of things that they have to do, an extension of the record.
Booking agent.
Yeah, like a booking agent. I mean, not that they're much up at the moment, but it's always good to be associated with people that have legs in other avenues you don't have, especially for the festivals.
Because I find a lot of the young ones I work with, they're very confused, because there's a huge thing about owning 360 and or do I want to publish in a way that most of them don't even know about publishing when I talk.
I know.
So
and everything else.
I know, right? So that's literally what I was going to ask you. So if, say, I started a label, whatever, and I came to you with 3 records of 3 different artists and 3 of my own, right? Say, just for instance, hypothetically, what would you do to I'm just looking at your, where is it?
Webpage.
At all your, what you do for the artists, your campaigns.
Okay, so the campaign is obviously we're not sending out to a couple hundred DJs, we send out to over 800 more, depending on the release, right? Because it's really important for me to catch the everyday guy in the suburbs that's playing to a lot of people that like to Shazam everything, right? And then translates into a spin on a sale for you. And these are really important things for us. I like to, I like them to, everything needs to be clean for me. Like the logo, the imaging, it needs to be, the message needs to be really clear. If it's a long-term kind of thing, and then we do the radio, the same week I do the dance promo, the DJ promo, we always do the radio promo to the dance stations and to all the shows within the commercial stations.
So that
And
was
it's a,
what I was going to ask you next is radio. Like, remember, you know, whatever in the mid
oh,
or double O's,
yeah,
between 2002 and 2013, you could get, well, no, well, it was probably about 2008 to 2013. There was a beautiful big chunk of electro hacks that Australians were making, like presets ourselves,
yeah, yep,
Populays, Cut Copy, Snake
yep,
Plan System, all that
yep,
kind of
yep.
stuff, and that all got ripped away, you know, and then radio just started playing what American people,
Yeah.
you know, it
What
just
has
got Americanized. So how do you cut through?
radio has not been easy at all over the years. I feel it's getting a little bit easier for us, maybe because we've got better product at the moment.
Yeah.
We just had another edition this morning for off air on Triple J. It's BBC One. I haven't been playing it,
Wow.
but we're getting things through. But a lot of that is also to do with brand recognition for Defected. So we've
Yes.
had quite a few records in the last 2 years,
Yeah.
which has built
They're
trust
killing
of DJ and radio and socials. You know, like
Yeah.
we're killing it. But that's the perfect. There's a different situation. I mean, it's 20 years in the making.
Yeah.
For the
I
label.
remember
So very well-oiled machine.
yeah, I
And
was
it,
buying defective vinyl in Ireland. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, yeah. So yeah.
I mean, I've worked with him from day one when we did the Defected. And I've not said the thing is, I've worked with him for a long time. People don't realize it hasn't just been a couple of years.
Mm.
You know, I was in there when
That's
no one
why I
wanted
wanted to get you on the show.
when no one wanted to know about the brand. I was spruiking this brand. Oh, what is this shit? And I'm like, it's house music.
Yeah.
You know, it's the
Exactly.
most classy house music you'll ever hear. And people laughing at me, you know, like you've really lost it. This label's just so underground. I'm like, it's not, you know. And I mean, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been hustling them nonstop every time I went overseas. Like, I know something's going to happen. Give it back to me, you know, like, and then let us work it and get some result. And we've done everything that we told them we are going to do.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, that's a little bit different situation for them. They have a lot of sub labels. So this is my other thing about the label thing. So Vicious is a good example of having sub labels according to the genres. So you need to aim it at the right. It's no use sending a glitterbox sounding record to a tech house label.
Yeah, of course.
All right. You really need to nail your wish list of who you want to send it to. You also need to have a good understanding of what the labels do.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a label that you're really into and you follow for a long time, your dream is to get this record on Tool Room or to get it on something Defected or whatever. You need to understand what you're playing with. They don't want the same sounding records that they already have.
Yeah.
Because that's often what I get told is like, oh, but it sounds like, yeah, but they're not looking for something that sounds like, you know, you would have a good answer to this. They want something fresh, looking for the next big thing.
Like,
you know?
Two, I can really know well, like Sharon J and Bunny Tiger.
Yeah.
He's got his sound, but no two records sound the same.
No. See, I love Sharon's stuff, and we've done a lot of promo for him.
Yeah. And
brilliant the stuff he sends.
Oh, it's chunky, it's funky,
Yeah.
it's cool as hell. And then Mark at Tool Room, you know, like that tech house, just uplifting no matter what. It's got
and
it's more about the feel of the label rather than what the track is going to get
that's
signed.
right.
You know what I mean?
And it's part of these days. You're really the labels trying to create communities. If you haven't noticed already, that's the reason why the UK labels have become so successful in the last couple of years, because they created a massive network and a community where you felt like you belonged to.
Yes.
Right. That's your thing. And if you go back to the 90s and the 80s when I used to go clubbing, it was the same in the trance era. We had our trance community, our hard style community, you know, and you move through the genres as you grow up and you move in and out of the sound, just like the techno massive here, you know. So, you know, it's important to nail, you know, and have a good description when you're speaking to the label manager or whatever as well. And I think building a relationship with the label manager is very important.
Yes.
Okay, you probably would be the first to advise on this as well, because if you have a shit relationship with that label manager, they're not going to do much for you.
Absolutely.
And if you're constantly being annoying and, you know, not asking the right questions, doing the wrong things, and it's the same football players do the wrong thing, you're going to get pushed down a little bit. So it's always good to ask lots of questions and make sure you're doing things the way they want to see it.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about Vicious in particular, obviously, they signed us and found us before.
Yeah.
It was back in the MySpace days, you know.
Yeah.
and we just got that connection, and I got this call. I was in chef school trying to get my visa. You know, I got a call. I'm just like, oh God, is it already if I go out? So I was the only white person there, you know. And I came and it was cool. You know, everyone was there for a visa, but I actually
Yeah.
really enjoyed it because I couldn't cook. And then I picked up the phone, didn't know the number, and I pick up like, hello. He goes, hey, mate, it's Andy Van here from Vicious Records. We really want to sign you. And it's like crap Australian accent. And I'm just like, fuck off. Like, who's this? You know, like, yeah, Dave, is that you? Like, he showed up. And then it was Andy Van. Like, you know, and I'm,
Yeah. Well, so, but that's another good example of having this a local team around it, because it really helped you guys when you first started.
Oh God,
Right?
you know, like we
You wouldn't have been
like,
able to do what you did without Vicious hands on deck.
hands on deck. And like
Yeah.
Lauren Padman, he's now the director of
Dimac.
Dimac. But him and myself, we sat down and we tried to get our, what would you say, our formula of our record, of the arrangement. And so we looked at people like AC/DC, you know, like you know, like really cool rock bands, and there wasn't that much dance around at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As in,
There was more indie dance stuff than Johnny.
yeah, like copy kind of vibe.
Yeah, it was presets and stuff.
Yeah, but we worked with the label all day, every day to get that John O'Back record, the radio edit, perfect. And we sent it back and forth to all the labels, going, oh, it's too hard. Just filter that down a bit. We're like, you know, but Lawrence and John and Andy were like, no, look, we have to do whatever it takes to get it onto radio. Once it's onto radio, and I was just like, oh no. Okay, you know, like a
see, that's another good example, because Lorne was in his time at Vicious. He was really tenacious when it came to his radio.
Yeah,
like he was super tenacious with his radio. He was always active in this space.
Yeah,
he always had ideas, and this is what I'm saying to the young kids. Okay, it might be great for you to give me your record directly, but at the end of the day, there's always at the record label, you're using resources.
Yeah.
Okay, internal resources, and if they outsource to me, that's fine, because most of them do. But they're still using internal resources, and that's partly to craft, like you just said before, your vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and your goals.
Yeah.
Right, because if it's a long-term deal and it's not just a one-off single, you want to know what the big picture looks like, and you want to know the end game.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Okay, you're not going to go into this like, oh, well, whatever happens, happens, because if you're in this for the long haul, you want to make it work.
Yeah.
And having someone like you just said before, like Lorne and John and Annie, to advise you.
Yeah.
And I know what some people always complain to me and go, oh, they told me, not personally them, but any record lab, they told me I have to fix this. And I'm like, I told you that for a reason. And then they'll come back. They said the radio edit's too long. And it's like, yes, because it has to be under 3 minutes of Spotify.
Yeah.
Oh, there's lots of little things that the label handles. And then the pitching these days to the DSPs is super important. The label does that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we do a bit of it. You know, obviously with some of the labels that we do all the work for, we do a bit of that. But, you know, you are relying on the record label to do hands-on approach with that. And you know,
the relationship you have with them, you know, and you know,
super important.
It is super important, and it's there's a difference between having an ego and being egotistical or egocentric.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of the people coming in have a little bit of you know, a split way. They don't really understand what egocentric is. And that's to be to be able to listen, to make yourself better, to you know, to have some compassion for your record, and to have the record label who've been around for donkeys of years. Then you know, like these kids are like a bull in a china shop. They want to get out. They want to get out. But they have to have that mental ability and stability and brains to sit back and listen.
And the maturity, I think it's a lot to do with maturity.
Yeah.
Okay, because some kids don't like to be told, and it's like, but someone's telling you this to make you better for you. It's not to make it worse.
Yeah.
You know, if this person's investing time into telling you, fucking listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because the one-on-one stuff, there's this one kid in particular who I
Yeah.
just know is going. He's so intelligent. He's
Yeah.
really young. He's, you know, just an absolute technical wizard. He listens to everything I teach him. You know, all the good, because I teach on more of a holistic manner. You know,
Yeah.
all around, not just, you know, oh, this is how you make a beat. This is like what not to do. You know,
Yeah.
when you're on tour, it's the whole package. You know,
Yeah.
and the design and everything. And this guy Ben Mason really stands out to me because he's different to anything that I've ever heard in my life. And I go hunting for these guys, you know. But then there'd be other ones that will book me for a whole EP or an album, and it's really, really intense. And they book me because of the name, but you kind of have to bring them back down a little bit to earth to build them back up, and with those ones, it takes a little bit longer, you know. And as you're
I know. I know those ones. They're the ones that come to me and say that my records are #1. It's like,
exactly.
Right. No one knows yet. We've got a bit of work to do. We've got a bit of work to do, man.
Yeah. I know. And the thing is, I saw you do stems and everything like that for labels, and I was just looking at that going, Christ, how much work does this woman want to do? Like, you know what I mean?
There's a reason why we do this. I'll tell you why we do this.
By the way, I think it's fantastic.
Because it's a good way to get some of these young kids that don't get an opportunity that are on my list, right? That are overlooked by the labels or underrated by the labels, that can come up shining crystal clear when they come on a package that they would never have got. A good example is the Roger Sanchez package we put out last week.
Yeah.
That was run through the remix competition. That package, there's some bloody A-grade mixes on there. There really is. And everyone should be commended for that.
Yeah.
And that will get exposure for these young kids that didn't have any exposure outside of here.
Yeah.
Because once that goes on Beatport and stuff, just remember it's Roger Sanchez.
Yeah.
People are going to download it. It's a new mix of classics.
Yeah.
It's going to just get their name out. You know,
I think that's fantastic.
But so that's the reason. And also, I wanted to keep it going during the lockdown because I wanted people to be engaged. I didn't want them to be disengaged from the industry because already their DJ gigs had gone. Right? At least something to. I mean, we're running one at the moment for the Trick and Chloe Wilson, but you know, this time I got them to do a prize package because I know everyone's a bit miserable at the moment, and it's a hard slog doing things for free. So let's just a little bit. 100 cans of vodka will keep you going. Some jeans from Nana Judy and a pair of headphones and Pioneer. Can't go wrong. ISO shit, you know. But when they came to do it, I said, I just think at the time now with everybody just a little bit down the dumps, we need to cheer people up a little bit.
Yeah.
And like I said to you, some kids I've found through here who have now got records out that we've discovered through the STEM service. They were actually quite good at this, but they didn't have the confidence
to put themselves out there. So do you kind of put this with the stems? You put out a competition for like up and comings to make a big record. So say if I got Ben Mason, I play a couple of his demos, like all hypothetically, you'd give the stems to him and he'd remix it and see how good it is. Yeah. And they'll either be
a lot of the time, some kids, I just get them in the game and I'll tell them to do it on spec so I can get it in front of the label, right? Because I know the label won't even give me 2 minutes of time if it's someone they actually don't know. They'll trust me on my word, but sometimes it's like, oh, really, this guy? And I'm like, fuck, you haven't been listening to what this kid's been putting out the last few months. It's good. Yeah. You know? And, you know, with genres changing all the time too.
I know,
of course. It's got to change. You can't, I mean, obviously, it's a little bit different in certain genres.
Tomorrow they're just doing commercial at the moment.
Yeah, but you know what? They've found a really big niche and they're getting records away. They're going gold, they're going platinum. It's great, all right? Yeah. It's just getting records away. And that's pivoting at the moment because of no dance floor, you know? I think everyone's trying to do their best, but look, with the STEM thing, it's something I'm just about to get on the phone to a whole stack of people that downloaded those parts because I want them to get this in. I want to hear what they can do with this, you know, because anything is possible. I don't like anyone saying it's not possible. And we get asked to commission remix packages all the time. And this is why another reason why I do these stems is so I can get a gauge of the new talent out there too. Yeah. Right. And I make sure everyone has an opportunity to have a go at something because it shouldn't be locked out just for the top end. It should be everybody involved. And, you know, we're always looking for that next big remixer.
Yeah. She might remember
And
what
that,
Timo Mass did for Doom's Night.
oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Nobody heard
yeah,
of him, and then it's just like he's everywhere.
I know,
The album came out.
everywhere.
It was fantastic, you know. I specifically wanted to ask you about those stems because I knew that's what it was for. Because I know that these young kids, you know, they might be working in a coffee shop and studying at the same time, but they're at home and they got extra time in their hands, and you know, there's no light for them.
Yeah, no,
Rather
that's
than
right.
someone like Corsi or myself, or as you say, Latrick. It's funny because I've got Ivan next, Ivan Goff.
Yeah.
And you know, people like
You're doing all the Carlton supporters in one go, are you?
I'm saying Kilda because the missus is saying Kilda.
Of course you are.
I'm Irish. I can do what I want.
You can do what you want, right? You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, and then there was basically radio serving streaming, the streaming roadmaps. The amount of club number ones you've had now. We've had a few with you, but 134.
135 now because Love Regenerated.
Sorry, did I change that?
Change that. But you know, you gotta think. I've been doing it's nearly 20 years.
Gabby,
It's nearly 20 years. But look, you know, we aim high. But like another thing is with our service, and I think it's probably the testimony to our service is that we curate our pool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. We don't take everything. There's a really good reason why, because I want people to come in there constantly. I want if my brand is hot, they'll trust anything I put in the pool.
Yeah.
And this is why someone comes to me and I think, you know what, this record's okay, but could be better. And I would like to get this out. We'll make it better.
Make it better, yeah.
And we will get it out, you know? It's like, if there's an opportunity that, like I say, we can fix it or we can just rejig it just a tiny little bit to help someone out, and we'll do that because, you know, I don't want to be just working on, you know, all the big names all the time. I want to discover things. I want to break things. Like that's what we've been known to do. We've been working because of the presets, sneaky sound system before they're big, you know. And your record, you know, I sit there now and I just think, oh, look at these guys, you know. When you just walk up there and pick up your aria, you know how good that feels.
I know how good it feels. You know,
so good.
It's amazing. And then you know you're at your table. From, you know, having a bottle of vodka and finishing for a record, don't know back, and then suddenly you're shot through the roof. It's
through the roof, and that's another thing. Then Johnny just what you said then. So when success comes, you need to be able to temper that as well.
Yeah, you know, and
because then some people start dealing with people differently, and no one wants you to deal with them differently because that's the person that's just helped you get to number one. Right? You need to tread carefully. I think keeping your ego in check and your mind, right? Just keep it all, keep the lid on at all times.
Well, that's what's the difference between egotistical and egocentric. You know, so that the egocentric is having confidence in what you do and having confidence to be open enough to let people like us tell them it can be better and help them for it to be better, you know.
And I think accepting criticism is another thing that you need to be good at.
Yeah.
Because good and bad feedback is how it makes your record better.
Yeah. So
you know what, even more bad feedback's better because if someone's taken the time to tell you there's a few things that could be easily fixed, right?
Yeah.
Make it sound absolutely sick, then you got to do it. But that's another fine line. Some people don't really take honesty that well. I've always been honest ever since the first day I worked in this industry. If I didn't like something, I'd say it because I wasn't going to string people along. Yeah. You know, and I'd say to them, don't take it personally. I just don't like it. But you could have done this, this, and that. And then they come back to me. They go, you know what? I took it on your advice. Yeah. Now what? And I go, oh, now it's good. Yeah. You know, and they're the good people that you're dealing with that want to take the criticism and use it in a positive vein, right? And they don't get down. And believe me, I don't want to say anything's not good and upset someone to the point that they get depression from it either. But, you know, you need to be honest with people because quite often your friends are going to say to you, it's the old, you know, the idol thing, I call it. Your friends are all going to say you sing great, but when you get on TV, it's shocking.
I know,
you know, you need your friends to say it's shit.
Yeah, I know, but I'm shocking. But like when the pandemic was, I had like people flying in and out to Melbourne, and you know they thought they were coming here for a good time, but it's like, it's time to work. You know what I mean? We need to make an EP.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the other thing. It's the party thing. You need to keep these kids need to keep it at a level.
Like, you know, that you need to
There's hard work to be done. You can't be out every night, all morning.
you can definitely be out and socialize with your peers.
100%. It's
you know,
important.
and playing out as well. Your peers hopefully show up at
Yeah.
gigs and stuff like
You
that.
probably don't want to be the last person to be hosed out of Revolver on a Monday morning. Probably the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, well, I think that sums up everything, you know. And, what are you excited about? You know, with this lockdown, obviously, it's going to take a while. You know,
Oh, I can tell you what I'm excited about. All these new records that are coming in now that I've started to get since last week, and there's so much piano going around, and the house is just going to get hotter, right?
I'll tell you. Sorry.
Yeah, and the disco is getting more prominent as well. I guess you got to think how we're going to come out of this, and it won't be dancing for a little while.
Yeah.
But you can still boogie in your chair with a good disco tune.
Yeah.
And you can still get excited about a house record.
That's very happy because I've been working on my own EPs, and I've got like 20 or 30 tracks done. But the ones that I really love are all anthems.
Big piano.
Man. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
bring it on. Last week was like Christmas. Someone said to me, "How's your day going?" I go, "Fuck, you wouldn't believe it. I'm getting so many records every minute. They're just magnificent." I've had the best week of getting records, you know, and now I've got to. So once I get this product and I get the roadmap from the labels, rather than individual people that I'm doing jobs for, now I have to plan out my, you know, so if it's a job that's a frontline job, which it requires servicing radio like Triple J, it needs to be done before we do the clubs.
Yeah.
So then get it before it even comes out on DSPs and stuff like that. So your timing needs to be right as well. Yeah. So now once I get the roadmap and we look, this is why we like people to book jobs in. So I don't have to be surprised on the day about working on something. I can plan a bit better, and I know who I've got to target to get the spins from that week, and to get a first spin here and a first spin there. Yeah. And those kind of steps are really important. It's not just, because I think that's probably one thing we don't do is throw records out there and hope that they work.
Yeah, right.
With records out there, we want them to work. It's a completely different ball game. We don't do, you know, cheapy throw them around here and there and hope for the best. That's not, that's not helping anybody. We have to have a plan, you know, and we have our, you know, maybe it's a bit robotic because I've been doing it for so long and it's autopilot, but I have a very systematical way of working with my releases that I figure I've honed my skills over time. It's like, I always refer to it as the Donald Bradman method. If you practice it enough, you'll become excellent at it. And, you know, you don't need a million skills. You just need to, the main things you need to be able to do, which you can do everything else with.
Yeah, exactly. You made me very happy with that, with the house.
Oh, you know, funny, I'm telling you, you know, if you heard what I heard last week, fucking hell, I was like,
what labels would you send, say, Piano House to? Like, yeah, who would you advise an artist?
There's a couple. Can't say anything at the moment, but something over in the UK soon. And, you know,
CR2, Brown and all that.
CR2's got another side label. He's starting, his tour room started another side label as well, which is more, not so much heavy on the tech sound. Yeah. Look, there's plenty of labels I'll be sending it to, but this is one thing I can't tell you about right now, but that's another option. This is where most of the stuff came from. And I was like, holy shit, it's so good. But, yeah, and look, you've seen, like I said before, Hot Sunday, Christian Colour Castle, he's licensed out a couple of records to Another Rhythm over there, which have done really well with some releases. And he's put some stuff through CR2 as well. CR2 are another old school kind of label, very hands-on. Yeah, they're lads and they're good guys. You know, they're crazy, but that's all part of the game, you know. But I've been working with Mark for a long time, and he's got some good records coming too. I mean, that Tough Love record last week is just an example of what's to come from the UK. All that piano.
I
love the piano.
I got to finish my piano records, and they're all about 90.
So what would be going on in Ibiza right now would be all this piano house. And so we just can imagine being on the beach and just having it going in the background until we'll reboot. But look, I don't think the rebooting thing's, you know, being positive, I don't think we're that far off. So we're looking better here today.
You need originals. You know what I mean? Like straight originals. As you say, the reworking of tracks. There's certain DJs in Melbourne that all they do is rework tracks, you know.
Yeah. Edits.
They've had lots of number ones in the club charts, but they go nowhere because it's not original. That's you know what I mean. And even though it goes number one, they're still playing around Melbourne for, you know, $100 an hour. You know, and that kind of pisses me off, because I want to just grab him and shake him and go, look, your production is sick. You're really cool.
Do
You're
more
really
with
cool.
it.
But like, let's make something original. I'll help you out, you know?
Well, because it's become over the last 12 months, if you haven't noticed, I think every single record has been redone. You know, I'm now working on Robin S's Show Me Love for the 7th time.
I won't be too happy about that.
You know, I mean, I've worked on some records. I was talking to someone else the other day. It's like, fuck, I worked on this record like 6, 7 times. And they go, aren't you sick of it? And I go, no, because I wouldn't have taken the job again if I was sick of it. I love this record from the day I first got it, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think people didn't get lazy. I just remember from the late 80s, early 90s, there was a lot of this going on as well.
Yeah.
But it's what I call the dance retro phase.
Yeah.
Where the young kids discover these older records.
Isn't it? It's the 10
years. It just, I watch it. It goes around in exactly the same pattern each 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not alarmed by, you know, some kids go, oh, mum, he's done another cover version. They will call me mum, you know, mum, another bloody cover version. They go, well, you know, it probably was due for that record to come out.
Yeah.
And often what I'll say to people is when they're doing one of these covers, why don't you approach the artist and see if you can get the clearance, because it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Like, quite often you might find that they're easy enough to want to give you the rights to do a voices or featuring. Yeah. And then it can become more original than what it was. Right?
Yeah, I hear
you. That's the first thing I always say. First, to try and clear it, right? If it's not too hard. I mean, you got to look at, it's really unfortunate what happened with Gimme Gimme. Sergeant Slick was on the verge of massive tours. I mean, this is an example of the COVID situation.
Yeah.
I mean, while that was a new version of ABBA's Gimme Gimme, it was going off. I mean, it was the steam train was ready to explode, and he got cut off at the fucking core by the COVID. It was, you know, his touring would have been through the roof over this summer.
Yeah, I love Andy. So, yeah, and he, like,
I mean, it, like you said, it depends on the record that they're doing, because some things just have no appeal anymore, and you leave it alone, you know. But when he does something, it's done quite tastefully. And I think, you know, also another good example of Vicious being very hands-on when it got hot, really hot, and everything was actioned immediately. The DSP, everything went crazy. They got radio auditions, they got Nova, they got everything all in one go. Couldn't do that on your own.
No.
You know, it's when you need the label. You know, and you had to move really quickly. One guy's, you know, pitching non-stop all day to the DSPs. The other one's trying to get radio, because that's what it is. Yeah. Right. And I don't think the average person realizes the day-to-day work in the office in the label can be quite stressful.
Yeah, big time.
You know, I mean, I don't know how, I can't only speak for myself, but back in the days in the 90s, my God, we never had the club chart. So every record I licensed, I was like, I had Betty Boo doing the do, and a few other big records that I licensed. I was like, they would just sit me down. Like, this has got to go top 20. And I just sit there going, holy shit. How the fuck on the national chart, not on the dance chart? I'm like, fuck, I actually need physical sales of this. Like,
brilliant.
You know, like, and that's the kind of talking to I'd get on a Monday morning. Now you got these, you can license as many records as you want. You've got all this money to spend on imports, but fuck, these 2 records, I've got to go on the national chart. And I'm just like, shit. So I'd be under due stress and have to make sure my team around me was completely solid.
Yeah.
And this is where my brother came into it, because my brother was, got him into doing and being a rep at first, and then I needed an assistant. I couldn't trust anybody else. Yeah, of course. I really couldn't. We had so many big projects going. I was like, I needed someone I knew wasn't going to fail me. Yeah. And Anthony, he's moved up to Brisbane. Yeah, he's like, we opened an office in Brisbane before all this happened, but he'll still stay there because we still feel that there's a growing market up there.
Oh, big time. Yeah. So many
times.
So much talent up there, and like, you know, God forbid.
And the weather.
Like family is still open, and you know, Brisbane was a huge mecca with the Met and everything, you know. So it's
right. It's been a very underrated city for partying, and that's what when we wanted to move into that market next. So, you know, we've already got Rachel's been up in Sydney for us for a long time. Minxie, she's done a terrific job for us running the show up there. And you know, and she's fortunately still with us today.
Yeah. I love Minx. Yeah, she's fantastic.
Their 4-year anniversary today of working with us. Poor Minxie. All the bad jokes every fucking week.
Yeah, I remember when she got it, like, she was just so excited.
She was in it. Yeah, she was having
and
a
she's
bit
the
of a rough patch.
everyone loves her in the industry, and she's one of the perfect examples of keeping your shit together, you know,
Oh, totally.
and balancing it, you know, and
Always.
she
She
could,
always does.
you know, you always see her in her Facebook. She does. She's, as you see her, that's her, you know, and you'll never see her too sloppy. You know, she always
I never.
she plays like an absolute ninja on the decks, and
Oh,
she's
yeah.
always smiling, you know, and she just plays. She's just a different breed. You know what I mean? She's
Yeah.
an
She
all
comes from she's cut from a really different rock than most of the people we deal with, I tell you. And she's a very hard worker. You got to remember too, when she first was coming through the ranks, the whole female DJ thing wasn't really that big. She came through I was working on the Chic and DJ project. You might have remembered.
Yeah, of
I
course.
remember Dave. Came to one of the things. So there was a few of the girls that you see now. Alice in Wonderland was one of them.
Helena Ellis. Oh, sorry,
Helena.
Helena.
Morgan. There was quite a few because there was two series we did, and Minxie came through. That's how I really got to know her, and I was like, "Geez, this girl, she's fucking good," you know.
Yeah,
And she had a great persona. She presented well all the time. And so when it was a no-brainer when she was looking for work, I was like, we'll find something for you to do because, you know, she's such a great person. And everybody, like you said, loves her. And I think that's another important thing is with us too, having our team. You know, I've got someone like her that I can rely on all the time. And she never lets me down.
Yeah, and the thing is, she goes with hunting for records for.
She's really onto it.
Guys, you know, for DJs. Okay, what style do you play?
And she's not just fucking serving shit up. She finds, she gets to know you. That's our service, though. We'll get to know you. I don't want to just tell you you're playing this shit record because it's not what you sound like. I know that, so I'm not even going to talk to you about that. But there's all these good ones that I know that you're going to love. You know, and play to your strengths all the time. So.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So look, happily listen to anything anyone's got, Johnny. You can always be the go-between with anything to help these kids out. And you see the STEM services. If they want to join our list, get the parts, I'm happy to do that as well.
This is the thing. I've got a fair few that I'll throw your way. That you know, well, what I'm doing is I'm helping them with their original production and taking it to a record label ready. Finished record, you know, and because you know the skill of making a record, it takes a long time to make a really hot record, you know what I mean? And well,
they're lucky that they've been able to work with someone as prolific and polished as yourself too. So thank you. You know, and you know, you got to look at the successes that you've had. You've got runs on the board. You're not just coming in there telling them you can do production when you've got no score behind you. You've got plenty behind you. Don't look at that wall. I can see it.
There's a few there.
I can see it. Look at it all. Gold everywhere.
And you promo every single one of them.
No, and I still keep hearing it on TV. How good is it?
No, it's brilliant. I cashed in. So everyone's like, "Oh, you sold out to G." I was like, "No, I cashed in."
No way, you cashed in, and just made the record so much bigger. I mean, everybody knows that record 10 years later.
Yeah. Well, it's
so
funny.
Good.
It's funny because of what I wrote it about. You know, it was actually quite an emotional record for me. I was coming back when my mum passed away on my birthday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I wrote it on a piece of paper. I had done it back. Is there anybody out there feeling something on just a brown envelope? But I had this track, like this backing track that I was working on. You know, it's like just like I love a sawtooth, you know. Wow. And I was like, Dave. It's like 3 a.m, you know. And I was like, Dave, get up. And we were living in number 54, Johnson Street, Studio 54. It's brilliant. That's what we call the house, messiest house ever. Too many cockroaches. And I came down. I was like, dude, I've got it. Let's call that guy Alan and get him to come over because he's a weapon. Gets him over. The bottle of vodka opens and it's done in 20 minutes, you know. And then obviously we worked. It took us 6 months to finish the production. That's when we brought Sam Littlemore on, and we did it on his kitchen table. You know, we were sitting on the floor of the kitchen, and he, like, you know, the other guys, I have to say this, the other guys have their own parts and meanings of the track, in
Yeah.
it as well, you know. So we've all written our own story
Then
with
you've got to
the track.
compress and put everything together, and that's the hardest bit sometimes.
Well, this one just came like that, you know. And
It's meant to
as soon,
be.
as soon as we had it, we're like, whoa, shit, you know. It's like we might have something here, you know. And you know, I don't know, whatever amount of records, 23 records, 40 or 20, 25 records later, we just silently released four EPs of 5 tracks onto Spotify, you know. So
Yeah.
we're constant, and there's like really cool club records on there that are bangers, and it was just a smorgasbord because we had so many records. We just had to go, and we just put it out silently, you know. And it's getting hits and hits and hits and hits and hits, you know. We have to have like, I think 70 or 80,000 people a month, or it was a week or month.
Yeah, monthly listeners,
Which is cool. The records are still going in the millions and that. But the thing is, none of that would have happened, rewinding back to you, none of that would have happened without the label, without the artists not having an ego. The record being
another good example, Ivan might talk about it next week, but gosh, the reason TV Rock were around is because I had that record from Deepface being good, and it was a really slow version. I was doing some work for the ABC at the time, and I remember Grant Smiley rang me and he goes, "Who is this girl singing on? I need her." I go, "You can't steal the band member, Dale. I'm working on this fucking project." You just can't steal her. But why don't I ask him if you can do a remix? And I go, "What are you going to call this thing? Because just you or you and Ivan, what are you going to call it?" And they came up with TV Rock. Right, and they did a remix, and then obviously the record later with Shawnee and stuff. But that's how it all started. It was like they wanted to take the girl from the band. I was like, "You can't take the girl from the band, man. I'm going to be in trouble." Yeah, but I just sort out this remix, and then they came back and they delivered this. You know, I mean, it's a timeless remix for that record, and it's still one of my favorite tracks I ever promoted. And you know, everything was great on it. Came from Barry Palmer's studio, if I remember correctly. You know, so everything was really polished. And God, they even did a TV series around us doing the promo of that record on the ABC. I couldn't, I want to watch it back one day. I just remember all the crazy, it was the intensity of following us around. And we're at Cuba, and of course, there's always one person that wants to hand you a packet of lollies at the wrong time. And I'm like, they're filming us about to play this record. Really, I've been getting filmed every hour of the day for like 2 weeks. Just let them fucking film it so I can get out of here. Get them out of here so we can play, you know. And it was just, it was crazy. And that's how I remember one thing happened here for TV Rock. It was, oh God, if I remember all these things, and you're right, there's a lot of things that came from me at the start. They weren't even anything.
That's what I'm saying. Like every transition that was made throughout like my 18 years here in Australia, and every single part of my
you've had contact with me ever since you arrived.
The end and the start goes through you, and this is what I say to you first, because these kids and people who are, you know, getting out there at the moment, they need to know who's who, and that's what these super sessions are all about. And
and you know, like we're doing those plugged in sessions as well. So if any of your artists want to join, we've got another one coming up next week with. I can't announce it till Anthony wants to send the email, but it's another good thing to, you know, because we try and touch on everything: management, touring. We've had Defected speaking. We've had a couple other overseas label heads, and it's been really interesting because it's the only contact some of these kids will ever have with these guys. You know, and if it means one step closer to getting a record noticed, signed. You know, and then a lot of them come back to me and they go, "Oh wow, you know, they were talking about Wes from Defected, going, he's such a nice, personalised guy." And I'm like, "Well, what do you think these guys that head the label are not wearing suits and stuff? They are music lovers." You know?
And it's funny, like
generally,
the people with the longest the longevity in the industry, they're the nicest people that you meet. You know,
yes, that's true. Because if they've been there, if they've managed to last that long to begin with, right? Eating crumbs for dinner sometimes because you've got to put all your money into the artist. Like I remember when we had Sonic Animation and we had to get this video made for the record that was, you know, it was so big at the time. And they were hassling us and we had to get costumes. They wanted costumes. And I'm like, costumes means I don't eat all week. So we had fucking meat pies for 1 week, I remember, and can of Coke. And we sat there sewing these damn costumes up because we couldn't afford to go to Rose Chong to get them made yet. Until we made it big time when we were getting big day out and everything, and then we were getting air-conditioned models and that. But I remember the early days and breaking into one of the universities here to film the video in the middle of the night because we had no budget. We had $1,000. We had to do it all ourselves. We ended up winning awards for the video. I was like, what?
Brilliant.
It's that easy. We'll do it every time, you know? So it doesn't mean, doesn't mean that you need millions of dollars to, where I've operated off the smell of an oily rag my whole career. Never had big budgets to work with, and I had to get shit away. They go, you've got lunch money, and I'm like, fucking lunch money, you know, like, and I had to make it work. So sometimes it's the more creative side of it, and you know, crazy ideas. I love crazy shit because you can always build on craze. You know, crazy's free.
Free. I mean, we did the Don Holbach's video in Moulin Rouge with all our mates.
There you go.
Having, you know, getting pissed at 11 o'clock in the morning, you know. And I swear to God, we played that track probably about 200 times, and it turned into a comedy. Like, and that's why I saw, like, you know, and then like the TV on the top of my head. It was a real TV with real electronics in it, but like, you know, it was as cheap as we were walking around King's Cross.
Yeah, but crazy shit like that sells, costs nothing.
That's it, you know, and we've always
sometimes
weird crazy videos over the time. But that, like, it's, even though it cost like, you know, $2,000 back in the day, which is a lot of money back then, you know, in 2008, it's still a lot of money. But we got this incredible weird kind of, you know, we had like the one Daft Punk, the funk with the dog head. It was kind of along, that was one of our references for the video, you know. But it was just, as you say, you can do it for little or nothing if you've got.
Sometimes it's the creative, and that's where having people around you helps rather than doing it on your own. And then I think it's a great initiative you got going with these kids. Like I said, if there's anything I can do to help out, send them my way.
Send me some kids, you know.
Yeah, send the kids, and I'll get them into the remix parts. It's always good to. They probably see, this is the other thing, they don't think they're up to the scratch to come to the pool. You know, they're not ready yet. No, everyone's ready. I've got to groom people to be ready for these bigger gigs. You know, it's not about just adding #1 DJs to the pool.
Yeah, I'll send you an email, and I'll send you, and you send me some, you know, raw talent.
Yeah, I'll get those parts for these kids to.
You know what I mean? And
anything I can do to help, happy to do it.
And vice versa, right?
All right.
What would your last, like, thing to say to everybody? The Gabs.
Don't give up. Don't give up. If the first record doesn't work, it doesn't mean shit. But never give up. You know, you can always get better. And, you know, like I just said to you before, practice makes perfect. Yeah. You just need to practice the same thing over and over again until you get real good at it, like Donald Bradman did, and you'll be hitting hundreds in no time.
Then you've hit the nail on the head, and it was something that I actually personally needed to hear today. You know,
because that's good, Johnny. I'm glad.
Oh, you know, like, you can see things and you can do things, but not everyone knows what's going on. And
and look, I don't have secrets. I'm happy to help people when they come to me. So I never feel threatened by approaching me because, you know, you've heard you know, like you said at the start and at the end, I'm at the start for a reason. I want to be at the end. Exactly. I don't do it at the start. I want to be there right at the fucking end when you get that gold record.
Yeah, thanks, Gabby.
When you're going up to get your ARIA award, and I'm cheering on the sideline.
I'm pretty sure I thanked you in the APRA awards.
Yes, you did.
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, all those things mean a lot to people. That's what I'm saying. Little things like that can go a long way. A long way.
All right,
you know, I'm sure you learned that over the years.
Unbelievable.
Keep us in the loop, yeah?
100%. And, you know, I've been in Melbourne for quite a while, so, you know, there's loads to talk about.
And we can lunch again, Dale, with lunch.
When we get to have lunch, like, we can have a cyber lunch.
No, we're going to 4 weeks, we're lunching, okay?
Okay, done.
Book it in, boy.
Much. You know, I really want.
All right, honey, anything for you.
Thank you, and right back at you. You know, I really wanted everyone to see this first because of you know, who you are, what you do, and your passion, and just everything that you said. And I'm really, really grateful for you coming on.
Thank you. Thanks, darling. Thank you for being you as well.
I love you to death, and we
love
shall
you
speak
too.
soon. All right.
Take care. Thanks, Johnny. See ya. Bye.
Awesome. So that was Gabby from Global PR. She's an absolute legend, and just make sure that you watch this and study it. Study what she said, because she is the front line and the back line. All right. It's Johnny Sonic signing out. And I've got another one coming up really, really soon, which is going to blow your mind. Take care.